everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our regular COB Board meeting, February 18th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the Estill County Board of Education Boardroom located on 253 Main Street in Irving, Kentucky. This was originally put on the calendar when we made our yearly calendar, so this is not a special COB Board meeting. This evening, I would like to call this meeting to order, and we always welcome everyone, and we stand by and start by saying our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for that. I'd like to remind you that there's a sign-in sheet at the entrance to the boardroom if you'd like to sign in. Also, Ms. Sheila Samples will be joining us remotely this evening. Mr. Brock, do you have any other revisions to this agenda?
The principal's report won't be necessary because we didn't ask them to come tonight.
Okay, so first on our agenda, we have closed session as pursuant to KRS 61.810, paragraph F, for the purpose of discussion which may lead to the appointment, discipline, or the dismissal of an individual student or employee. So at this time, I need a motion and a second to go into closed session. I have a motion by Tammy Hardy. I have a second by Carrie Smallwood. All in favor? And so I have Tammy Hardy, yes. Carrie Smallwood, yes. Sheila Samples, yes. And Donna Isford, yes. So at this time, we are in closed session. This time, I would like to call this meeting back into open session. Next on our agenda, we have consideration for approval of appointing a new board member for District 5. Would you like to discuss that, Mr. Brock?
Yeah, we've had a bit of a trial to get here, I guess. Everybody knows. We talked about that a little bit last board meeting. All that was approved. We've had it ran in the paper for at least 2 weeks. We had 60 days starting January 1st to get a new board member appointed. We've been taking applications, and we had one application. The board has reviewed the application, and it's up to the board on how they want to act on that application. The applicant that we had was Sharon Whitaker.
Well, at this time, I would like to ask for a motion and a second for approval of appointing Sharon Whitaker as a new board member for District 5. Do I have a motion? Tammy Hardy makes a motion. Carrie Smallwood makes a second. Do we have any discussion or any questions? If not, I'd like to call for a vote, and we'll do a roll call vote since Sheila's not with us. Tammy Hardy, yes. Carrie Smallwood, yes. Sheila Samples, yes. And Donna Isford is a yes. So the motion carries. Sharon Whitaker will be your new District 5 board member. Next on our agenda, we have a facilities update, and first is our Estill County Middle School. Mr. Brock, would you like to discuss that?
So, as we've discussed multiple times, we did receive $5 million to start the process for design site prep. The board selected Deco as our architect firm and Codell as our construction firm. Deco is here tonight for a presentation for everybody to see where we're at in the process, and then after they give us a presentation, we're going to consider the approval of the schematic design that they've come up with so far. So they'll probably tell you this. We're probably 15%, 20% into the design. There are some details that could change, but this is just the schematic design as it is. So,
thank you all for being here with us tonight on this yucky winter day.
It is an honor. So Jeremy, am I okay? It's an honor to be here. We're excited about this. We're really excited about this project. We've been very pleased with how it's went so far, and optimism is boiling over on our side. So we're excited to share with you what we have today. As Mr. Brock said, we're about 15% through the total ordeal. So it will look deceptively complete. It is less complete than it appears. So by approving us tonight, if you choose to do so, that we're not necessarily locked in really hard beyond really the overall concept and the overall direction of the floor plan. But colors, finishes, other things like that are going to continue to evolve as we go. But we do want to make sure you like where we're putting the building and the overall layout and how things are trending. So this is our first major check-in. Per kind of KDE's design of how we're supposed to present and get approvals from you, this is one of 3. So this is the first one. We'll be back 2 more times. We'll come back for design development, and then we'll come back again for construction documents before we go to bid. We want to do one thing off script that's a little outside of what we usually do with KDE, and we want to break the site apart from the rest of the project so that we can expedite that phase. So next month, if everything is agreeable, we will come back to you to seek to expedite the site, and that will be a separate approval that we're going to break away from the building. And that'll be our way to kind of get the project fast-tracked and moving with the funds you have. So, but for this month, we just want to present and show where we are overall with the project. And so we'll kind of start here with this general overview of the building. We are setting up on the hill behind the high school and the vocational school. So if you see this little bunch of trees on down from that, you can see some of the roads below, but on down here is where the ATC is, and this is sitting up on the ridge behind it. The big move for this school is it's a middle school, so we're talking about 6th, 7th, and 8th. We would like each of those grades to have their own wing, and we would like those wings to be anchored by a hub. So you'll see that here. You'll see kind of gymnasium here on the left, and that anchors this side. Main entry here with administration and all of that kind of stuff here. And then a big central hub, which will house a library and the Paxton Patterson units, and then also some vocal and band stuff that happens here. And then each of the grades gets an individual wing. So it's 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. There's a few advantages to this kind of general overall scheme, in that we're required to have storm shelters anytime we build a new school in the modern era. So we can get individualized storm shelters in the wings, and we can also break the mechanical apart and have dedicated mechanical over those storm shelters to kind of service each of those wings. It also allows for a central IT hub so that we get our IT ran in an efficient way. And it puts the band, I think, in a nice central location, because we know that band is important in this district. And it also gives us a really good opportunity off the back to get some amazing views. And we wanted to bring a train car up on this back patio so that if you're in the library or if you're in that central hub, there's a lot of opportunity to do breakout sessions and take classes outside and get this big view down the valley with a train car experience. So that's the overall gist of things, and then we'll ease forward from there. So let's skip ahead, Jeremy. So here's some peeks inside. Again, this looks more complete than it is, so we haven't worked through the finishes or the furniture or all the colors, but we know that your color is blue, so you'll see some blue. But up top is the band room. You'll notice that that's the kind of big laminated timber ceiling that comes out. And this is some storefront here because it has kind of a strong presence on that outside. These two images are the gym. So we've worked through that, and it's fixed seating on one side, retractable seating on the other side. Seats roughly 830 seats. We've worked really hard on the stage, trying to get all of the stage spaces correct. And so we feel really good about that. And a lot of flexibility in that you can have multiple courts going here at a time if you choose, or you can pull all the bleachers out and have a game. And then these final two images, this shows the hub space. So you see it's the big kind of double height space that really ties all of the individual wings together. We want to implement some passive learning so that, not all learning in the building is done out of a textbook or comes from a teacher. Some of it is you're just walking through, and there's a compass on the floor, and we show the alignments of all the wings around a compass in comparison to true north. We have another idea, seeing that the pyritic shale and the soil conditions and everything of this site are so prevalent. We've asked the engineer to save the boring of all of that rock and soil, and we're going to display it and try to make some kind of museum pieces here so that folks can see what we've been up against on this project. So, some views from the outside. So this one's important, I think. So this is from your current campus, kind of looking up, showing what it'll look like sitting up there up high. And then here's a couple different options. Again, we're still working on finishes and colors. Nothing here set in stone, but you'll see a primary entrance. We want it to be the most prominent. We want folks to look at that and know that's where you're supposed to enter the building. But we also want a secondary entrance just dedicated to athletics, so that on a Friday night or whatever, we can shut this side of the school down and secure it and have a dedicated entrance for athletics.
Can you blow that up a little bit, Jeremy?
You'll get a really good picture of it in the video here in just a minute.
Ah, okay, never mind then. The colors.
I've already watched it,
Colors are
yeah.
not permanent.
Right, I just was kind of getting a visual in my head.
At the bottom right,
Yeah.
yeah.
There you go. All right, so again,
Okay.
it's all in process, exactly what this looks like. We're still kind of working on it, but the big kind of moves are there. And The thought at this point is we're looking away from brick. We're looking at doing block construction, but then picking up insulation outside of the block and then cladding it in metal. So that's what we're currently showing. It creates a fun opportunity to have some color in the building, so we've currently got a blue stripe that goes through, and then we're trying to hit all the high points with blue. And then over here on the gym, doesn't show real well, but we'll show it again in a minute. We've got a metal panel there that has some motif in it. So it has like a mountain motif, and then we can light it from the top and the bottom. And we thought at night it would be a really interesting piece to draw attention to the gym. And it'll look really great from below too. All of the solar stuff we're showing so far is placeholders. And then again, this is that band portion kind of at the crux of the angle over there. Okay. Now from here, I'll move a little faster just because I don't want to hold you hostage all evening. But these next few slides are pretty important, just showing the overall layout with the campus. So our building sits again up top here. We're looking at a new road system that will connect this side of campus down here to the lower road and give us some more options for traffic. This is our building here. The main axis going right here, and then that secondary axis kind of crossing there. So it'll set, again, prominently up on the hill. Okay? Yeah, you go ahead. So this just shows the topography. Let's skip ahead one more. There we go. This one shows the cut and the fill, and trying to make the site balance as best we can, but we're not going to get that perfect. But the blue is the cut, so that's everywhere we're going to cut the earth, and we'll be on fresh earth. Red is where we have to fill, so that's where we're taking the cut and we're moving it. We're trying to minimize the amount that we build on the fill, because we don't want to put half the building on the fill, half on the cut, because then it'll settle differentially. We want to get as much of it in the blue as we can. And so far, it's been very successful. I know that this doesn't read well, but we've really minimized it to where we just have a little edge coming out here, but we've worked to minimize that as best we can. So we feel really good about the direction of this. Okay. More axos here. So again, this big kind of move where we've got 6th, 7th, and 8th radiating around a central hub, gym over here, and then this gives you the back view. And what's exciting about the back view is kind of this train experience and pavilion experience out here, which we think will be really great and beneficial. And then this is all the cafeteria loading and custodial receiving and all of those kind of back of house things here. Okay. This is a roof plan. So again, we're showing solar panels. We haven't figured all of that out yet. We're just showing that here's some space. Potentially solar panels could fit there. I guess what's important here is this blue roof. So all of the bus drop-off will be on this side, and parent pickup will be on this side. And this will be kind of a central canopy to pick all of those uses up. All right. And then this is the floor plan. So this illustrates everything that I've been talking about, just at a higher detail. So you can see the wings. Here we've done some creative things with classrooms and taken some feedback back from the district of classrooms that could benefit from sharing the space. So we can have some retractable walls and some things like that to where these rooms can be more multi-purpose. They can be individual rooms if we want, or they can be doubled up if we choose to do that. Each wing will have dedicated restrooms, dedicated staff restroom, dedicated mechanical. And then, yep. That's okay. This space here is the Paxton Patterson space, so that's where they'll set up all their different units, educational units for, it's like STEM focused. So we think, there's a lot of debate about what does a school of the future look like, or what does a library in modern times look like. We think this positions you very well, and that it's really flexible. It's very tech focused. And we think that we're rethinking those spaces in a positive way. Okay? We can kind of breeze through these, so more roof. Up. So we won't torture you with all these slides. You can kind of just skim through them, Jeremy, if you want, but these are blow-ups of the individual spaces. These will continue to flesh out as we go, but we think we're in a really good spot so far. All right, this one might be interesting. So this is the gym portion. You notice that we're mimicking the floor you already have at your high school. And of course, on 3 sides, you have seating, there, and then on this side is the stage. So this is kind of a proper production stage. We think it'll be a highlight of the community. It'll really be a great opportunity to bring folks up here and have nice productions. So we've been working pretty hard on that. Okay. And then peek at the outside. So from there, Jeremy, I think we can we'll slip to the video, because the video shows all this stuff a little better. But we just want you to know it exists. All right, so this is going to start as if you are approaching the school from the road. So you're coming down from where your current athletics fields are, coming up around the backside. And this would be the front that would greet you as you come around. So this building will kind of present its front away from your current campus. It'll show the back toward the current campus, and that's by design. We want, of course, to display your band wing. And then there's your primary entrance. And then we'll pass by here the secondary entrance for athletics. You can see what we were alluding to about having some kind of motif on a panel up high that we could illuminate, because we want to get it up and above the canopies. So the canopies are all above 12 feet to where a bus can pass safely through. This is all the receiving for the cafeteria in the back. And then you see kind of the big moment in the back where the hub really looks out to the valley below. Within that would be the library. And then here's kind of the overall view from the other side. So you see the 3 wings and the center hub there.
So will the blue be metal, is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
currently. Now, it's not etched in stone. We want your feedback. But currently, all of the siding is metal.
There's a lot of windows and glass in the building. Will that be bulletproof?
Yes. So haven't sorted all of it perfectly, but yes, those discussions are happening, and we're exploring products, yes. And some of the angles and, overall strategies have been, to minimize angles on glass and being able to penetrate it. So the sloped roofs, we're looking at, again, metal for there, a standing seam product. There are some low slope roofs where we're going to put equipment and do other things with. We're looking at maybe a PVC product for those roofs. And then this will show the event lobby and gymnasium. So this lobby is not really fleshed out yet, so don't be alarmed. But we do want some kind of double height space right as when you enter, and we thought that'd be a good opportunity for your logo. This right here, we're still working on it, but the gym is pretty developed. So not perfect yet. We're still working out a few kinks with Mr. Brock, but it's pretty developed. It's a little bit ahead of some of the other spaces. But we're looking at bowstring trusses across the top, similar to some other buildings you have on campus. And you see your floor there, and then you would probably never experience this where we have all of the goals down and the bleachers out, but we just want to show you everything it can do. A pretty generous stage space.
I'm a little bit worried about the amount of seating. You said 850,
830?
830?
That's more than they actually will let us from middle school gym with our size. We got to increase it because we added the auditorium to make it more. Otherwise, it would have been around 500.
Right. All right, and then down the classroom wing. So you'll notice we'll go through a couple sets of doors. That's on purpose because those doors we're going to be able to close them to make this area here a storm shelter. So the storm shelter will end at the classroom doors, and then when you're within the classrooms, you're not within it. But the structural requirements of a modern school storm shelter are pretty hefty. And so we're really happy with how this is all fleshing out. We think it makes a lot of sense. But this shows one of the classrooms that can be opened up as a double. This one's just a single. That's a standard classroom. What we generally try to do is to give you two options for which wall is an instruction wall. So usually that's how we set it up. So that's kind of the portrait mode, and then we can also do a landscape mode. And we generally coordinate to give the teacher plugs on each wall to where they could choose which way to set up. And this is the hub. You can see the compass on the floor. And, you know, the big double height space here. So we think this will be kind of a key anchor for the building in a much used space. So we had some ideas about we want this to be very educational. So in this space, and we don't have all of these ideas fleshed out, but when you're here, we want there to be multiple passive learning things going on. We even thought where this duct kind of goes up and through, we could label on the duct that, hey, this is fresh air, hey, it's moving in this direction, you know, this many CFMs is coming out of this vent, and this many CFMs is coming out of this vent. And we want to pick up little touches like that when it's all said and done. There's another opportunity where the network racks may be above this little space right here, and you would be able to see them if you were at the glass looking back. There's some playful conversations. I don't know if we'll do it or not, but we may show the servers off to where the kids can see them and understand where the network's coming from, and they could even see the cable trays come out, and we could label them. But again, we're just looking for opportunities for passive learning. So that's what we have at the moment. I think, so moving forward, we will be back next month to discuss soil and site and to seek your permission to start easing forward with site packages. We have worked diligently thus far with your team and our engineers on trying to find the best ways to address the soil conditions. And where we stand at the moment is it's an interesting conundrum because the primary issue is pyritic shale, as you guys are exhausted with, I'm sure. But it has pyrite in it, which is fool's gold, and then it has shale in it, which is shale. And what we found is if we could structurally design this building to where the load comes on a point, and that load is somewhere between 15 and 45,000 pounds, that's kind of the sweet spot. Because if we're lighter than that, if we just pour traditional footings and have traditional walls, those walls are too light, and the pyrite crystallizes and can bulge the walls up. But if we make the points heavier than that, it's too heavy and it crushes the shale. So it's a perfect little mix of you can't crush the shale, but you can't be too light on the pyrite or it'll push you up. So the current strategy is we're going to be pretty aggressive in excavating, bringing in mud mats, also in treating it, and also making it a point-loaded building where we have voids under the lighter walls so that it doesn't push us up. So we're going to hit it kind of with a three-prong attack. But again, engineer I just wanted to steal his thunder a little bit. He'll come next month, explain it to you in a little better detail.
Okay.
So,
It's looking good.
thank you. All right, any other questions? Maybe one other thing I should tell you. We're going to, once you approve us, assuming you do, we will bundle all of this up and submit to KDE. We're a little outside of some of their recommendations, because again, you're working with recommendations of the past that were written in the 90s. We're trying to build a school of today. So there may be a negotiation period where they try to push us back on a few things we're doing, and we have to kind of tread through that. So don't be alarmed if that happens, but that's where we go from here. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But we're gonna push to get as much seating as we can and as much space as we can.
That's
That's
why I
where-
asked about the seating, because we had talked about that before and being able to host a graduation or a basketball game and,
Yeah.
or a district or
Yeah.
those kinds of things.
Yeah, I'm working with Austin right now on that, to be able to do that at the high school, but with looking with what KDE will allow us to build for this middle school, I don't know that they will allow us to do that, but we'll see where we can get with them.
I just had a question about the seating. So, anybody else have anything?
I really like that blue middle on the outside though.
The metal, we really like, and we talked about that in the last meeting. My question to them was how durable is it in Todd's as well, so they're gonna try to figure that out
Yeah.
for us, and we're gonna go from there.
Well, some of the metal fades with time, and
Right.
it starts to get like a powdery look to it.
So the metal we're looking at it's called a 7.2 panel. There are multiple different manufacturers that make it, but it's a ribbed profile, and it's an architectural panel, so it's a little heavier than your typical barn metal. That's pretty common around here. So this is an architectural metal. I don't want to say it's high-end, because it's a good value, but it's a reasonably high-end product. And so what we look for on our side, the nightmare that happens for us, and I understand they have concerns because they have to mow it. You don't want a rock to fly up and hit it and it chips the paint, or someone weed eats against it and chips, all the paint off the bottom. On my end, I don't want it to oil can. I don't want you to put it up there and it looks wobbly. So we like to pick a profile that has a rib, a pretty substantial rib, and then we want pretty heavy density to the metal, the gauge of the metal. So it'll be a heavy architectural panel. So we feel really good about it, but we're going to continue to work through the details.
Okay. Mr. Brock, do you have anything further?
Just recommend, for the next one that we approve the schematic, design.
Okay. With that presentation and Mr. Brock's recommendation, I need a motion and a second, to move forward with approval of the schematic design as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Tammy Hardy makes a motion and Carrie Smallwood makes a second. Do we have any discussion? Anything further? If not, was that Sheila?
She's not on there.
Okay,
She lost her connections.
okay,
Make sure you made that public.
okay.
I'm sure she'll try to join us back here in a minute, but we've still got a quorum, so we're still good.
Okay,
She was not able to see the video, so she was uncomfortable voting on it anyway.
okay. So I'm gonna do a roll call vote. So Miss Sheila Samples lost connection. So we still have a quorum that's present, so we'll move forward. Tammy Hardy, yes. Carrie Smallwood,
Yes.
and Donna Isford is a yes. So with that, the motion carries. Thank you. And then, next we have consideration for approval of a revised BG1. And Mr. Brock has that information for us.
Yes, we've had to revise this several times. It's hard to pinpoint down exactly what it's gonna cost until we got some of these cores and we got so far along in the process. As he explained, what we're kind of trying to do with the construction to mitigate the peritic shell, cost a little bit more as well, but I think that it's money well spent, because we're gonna do everything that we can to, try to minimize the risk. And so the revised BG1, the last time we had it, it was at 48,687. And after we got our geological and got the site kind of pinned down to how much would have to be moved. The revised BG is gonna be 58, 393. So we're just revising that amount, which is what we'll be asking for to complete the project.
Okay, so, I need a motion to approve the BG one as described. Carrie Smallwood makes a motion.
I'll make a second.
Tammy Hardy makes a second. Miss Sheila Samples is still not with us, so I'm gonna go ahead and do a roll call vote. Tammy Hardy,
Yes.
Carrie Smallwood,
Yes.
Donna Isbert, yes. So motion carries. That brings us down to our action items. If you all wanna hit the road, be very safe.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
See you next month.
Be careful. So that brings us down to our action items. First on our agenda, we have consideration for approval of the out-of-state trip. Mr. Watt, would you like to talk about those?
Yeah, this is just our, there's two things here that we have a out of, state trip to Kings Island by our eighth graders. And then we can talk about the other one here in a second. So eighth graders to go to Kings Island, that'll be their eighth grade trip. It's my recommendation we approve.
Okay, I need a motion and a second to approve the eighth grade trip.
I'll make a motion.
Tammy Hardy makes a motion, Carrie Smallwood makes a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, I'd like to do a roll call vote. Tammy Hardy,
Yes.
Carrie Smallwood,
Yes.
Donna Isbert, yes. And Miss Sheila Samples is still not able to join us. So the motion carries.
She's back now, but she's just out.
Is she back on?
Okay.
Okay. So Sheila Samples is joining us again. Next, we have consideration for approval of the revised travel voucher.
So, our travel voucher for the board and for, our employees had not been updated in a long, long time. And so, we have updated it to reflect two different options. One is for what's considered like a low, cost, place to travel. One's a high cost place to travel. It's basically just keeping up with, the cost, that if we have to travel as a board or teachers have to travel or whoever, what the reimbursement will be. And this is what was recommended to us by KSBA. It's something that we need to update, so it's my recommendation that we update it.
I need a motion, to approve, and I need a second.
I'll make the motion.
Carrie
I'll make
Smallwood
a
makes a
second.
motion, Tammy Hardy makes a second. Do we have any discussion or any questions? If not, I'd like to call for a vote. Tammy Hardy is yes. Carrie Smallwood,
Yes.
Sheila Samples, Sheila Samples, yes. Yes. And Donna Isford is yes. So motion carries with a 4-0 vote. Next on our agenda, we have consideration for approval of the following MOU.
So this is for a JAG position at the high school, MOU with JAG. Helps us pay for that position for a certified employee. It's about $40,000 a year that we receive. It's my recommendation we approve that.
I need a motion to approve the JAG position for the high school.
I'll make a motion.
Tammy Hardy makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll make the second.
Carrie Smallwood makes a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, I'd like to call for a vote. We'll do a roll call vote. Tammy Hardy,
Yes.
Carrie Smallwood,
Yes.
Sheila Samples is a yes, and Donna Isford is yes. The motion carries with a 4-0 vote. We need to do all these next ones separate.
All of these action items, yeah, we need to do
Okay.
separate.
Next, we have consideration for approval of the FY 25-26 calendar.
So the calendar committee has met, they looked at options, you all have the calendar in front of you. You will notice, and the public will notice, that it is different this year. It lets us start late at the 1st of September, first week in September. This is an alternate calendar. going to the 1,062 hours rather than being the 170-day calendar, but we still have instructional days packed in there. The reason we wanted to move to an alternate calendar this year was, number one, it would give us most of June, July, and August to site prep because there's going to have to be blasting, and we don't want kids on the campus while there's blasting. But also, it allows us to, if we get in a situation next year like we have this year, knock on wood, hope we don't, that we can go back to that 1,062 hours rather than the 170 days. So it's my recommendation we approve the calendar.
Okay. With that, I need a motion to approve the calendar.
Make a
Tammy
motion.
Hardy makes a motion. Do I have a second? I think Sheila Samples is maybe making a second. Sheila Samples, are you making a second to approve the calendar? Yes, okay. So, do we have any discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Tammy Hardy,
Yes.
Carrie Smallwood,
Yes.
Sheila Samples, yes, and Donna Isford is yes. Motion carries on the school calendar. Next, we have consideration for approval of a tentative school allocations.
So these are just the tentative allocations for each school every year. It's based it on projected attendance. We have to have it to, I gotta have it to principals by March the 1st. It's not in stone. I'll go back and give them another one in May, and then we can adjust it even in the fall if we need to. It's strictly based on projected enrollment, and then the 28-to-1, 29-to-1, and 24-to-1. And then for their Section 6 budget, what their enrollment is, ADA, and then multiplied by the amount per student. So it's my recommendation we approve the tentative allocations.
I need a motion to approve the tentative allocations. Tammy Hardy makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Carrie Smallwood makes a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, I'd like to do a roll call vote. Tammy Hardy,
Yes.
Carrie Smallwood,
Yes.
Sheila Samples, yes, and Donna Isford is yes. Motion carries with a 4-0 vote. Next, we have consideration for approval of student accident insurance renewal.
So we got our quote for our student accident insurance. It did not go up. It's the same price that it was last year. It's just additional insurance that we carry on our students, and we carry it on all students, not just our athletes. It's my recommendation that we approve the renewal.
Okay, I need a motion for approval of our student accident insurance renewal policy. Sheila Samples makes a motion.
I'll make a second.
Tammy Hardy makes a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, I'd like to call for a vote. I'd like to do a roll call vote. Tammy Hardy,
Yes.
Carrie Smallwood,
Yes.
Sheila Samples, yes, and Donna Isford is yes. The motion carries. And next on our action items, we have consideration for approval of the FY26 draft budget.
So this is also very preliminary. It's a draft budget because we've got some projections on where we'll be at the end of this year, but we have to get something in place and approve it for the start of next year. It's taken into consideration what we have historically spent and what our allocations will be for teachers and different positions. It's my recommendation that we approve the fiscal year 26 draft budget.
Everyone has a copy of that. I need a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion.
Tammy Hardy makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll make the second.
Carrie Smallwood makes a second. Do we have any discussion or any questions? If not, I'd like to do a roll call vote. Tammy Hardy,
Yes.
Carrie Smallwood,
Yes.
Sheila Samples. She says yes, and Donna Isford is yes.
Now consent.
Okay, now that brings us down to our consent items. Mr. Brock, would you like to talk about those?
Yeah, these are just the normal consent items. We've got the approved the January meeting, and then we had the January 23rd special call meeting. It's the minutes for that. Treasurer's report, which is just the paying of our bills that we do every month, and then superintendent's travels. Went to a couple of board meetings for SCSC this month, and then we're going to KSBA this coming week. So all those can be
So
done
that,
together.
I need a motion to approve our action items.
Make a motion.
a motion. Do I have a second? Sheila Samples makes a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, I'd like to call for a vote. Tammy Hardy,
Yes.
Carrie Smallwood,
Yes.
Sheila Samples. She's nodding her head yes, and Donna Isbert. So motion carries 4-0. Next is your time to talk.
My superintendent's report. Well, unfortunately, we've been out of school quite a bit since our last board meeting, but hopefully we can get back in next week. I hope they missed the 6 inches of snow, 3 to 6 inches of snow that we're going to get. Obviously, we're dealing with flooding right now, but we're continuing to work. I've met with principals about adjusting instructional plans because of what time we have missed. Obviously, we've had to adjust the calendar. They've got some really good plans on that. And once we are able to get back in, we're going to work hard right to the very end. There is some legislation out there that could have possibly allow us this year to revert away from the 170 days and back to the 1,062 hours. It has not passed yet, but it's out there. That's House Bill 241. And it also, they're trying to tack 5 additional NTI days onto that, which would help us out if they'll hurry up and get that passed. The comments that we had before the meeting, I know Jeremy had opened them up. We had 5, the same 5. And the 5 comments that we had prior to, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but we can bring it up again down there, is can we do away with spring break and do instructional 5 days? I think at this point it's definitely on the table and we need to look at that. I'm not going to say yes, I'm not going to say no, but we will have a recommendation for the board very soon. A lot of it will depend on what they do with legislation and where we can get some days there. But yes, that is definitely on the table at this point, so.
And NTI days do count, right?
Yes, NTI days count as instructional days, and we have 10, we've used those,
Okay.
so. And
I was
then,
just told that, or if somebody said something on Facebook, I seen that they said it didn't count.
they do count, yes.
Okay.
NTI days do count as instructional days. Attendance has fell a little bit last week. We had quite a bit of sickness and we had quite a few students out. So for the year, I talked to Donald late last week, and I think it was somewhere around 91.8. So it's still pretty high. We think we'll get back to around 92, maybe 93 by the end of the year, but sickness last week did hurt us a little bit. So that's what I've got.
All right.
All right. And so no principals report this evening. We asked them to just stay home due to the inclement weather. Next on our agenda is our board member forum. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share? Any questions, any concerns? Miss Shayla, do you have anything for the board member forum? Nothing you can,
Wants the water to go
Wants
down,
the
just
water.
like the rest of us, yes.
wants the water to go down. And Mr. Brock, yeah. We'll all be traveling as a board to KSBA. I think Mr. Brock mentioned that. We'll be going to Louisville, leaving Thursday night, through the weekend. And so we always come back with some good information and things to share in our district when we're able to go to that. And you just addressed the public comments, so I guess.
Do we have any more
Is there
besides
any-
those 5?
Should we announce who submitted those since it's public record?
I mean, you can, it's public comment, it's not, it's not hidden,
Yeah, I just don't know what we should.
yeah.
So the responses were from Janet Rose, Murr McQueen, Jessica Kirby, Cassie Willis, and Brian Kirby. And all 5 were, can we use spring break to make up days?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for all those of you that joined us, and we want everyone to stay safe, and we hope to see everyone back in school really soon.
Yep, need to adjourn.
And
Motion.
anything further, we need a motion for adjournment. Tammy Hardy makes a motion, Carrie Smallwood makes a second, all in favor? Meeting adjourned.